Now, the Post Office paid one single law firm a staggering £37.5 million to help them deny postmasters compensation. That's according to an exclusive investigation by this channel. Womble Bond Dickinson helped represent the Post Office against civil class action from Alan Bates in 2017. Responding to our investigation, the Post Office said this legal firm acted as one of the Post Office's solicitors for a long period of time, and spend is for a wide range of work over a 10-year period. In 2019, the current management settled the long-running Horizon litigation within 4 months and made a sincere apology. Since then, the Post Office has actively supported efforts to compensate postmasters fairly and quickly, and is determined to help right the wrongs of the past.
And the law firm itself had this response, telling us, "We have great sympathy for all those affected by the failings of the Horizon IT system. It is important to clarify this represents a gross fee figure for all types of work over a 10-year period. This includes significant third-party costs, such as barrister fees, which are typically paid by a law firm on behalf of a client." We are joined now by Wendy Buffrey. She's a former sub-postmistress who was sentenced to a community sentence and ordered to pay more than £26,000 in compensation. Thank you for joining us, Wendy. And first of all, our commiserations and sympathy for the ordeal that you and all the other sub-postmasters have been through. It really is one of the worst scandals we've ever come across. But while you were suffering, lawyers were doing very, very nicely. This company alone, £37.5 million. It wasn't to actually prosecute. It was to deny you, to bring up cases to deny people like you your rightful compensation. And a partner called Stephen Dilley gave evidence against a Bridlington postmaster called Lee Castleton, and he knew that Lee Castleton would be driven into bankruptcy by all this. And Mr. Dilley told the inquiry, "I entirely accept that insofar as we could understand Mr. Castleton's asset positions, there was a significant risk he would be unable to pay." So this is what this company was doing, stopping you get your rightful compensation, and along the way, making £37.5 million. I can sort of guess what you feel about it, but tell us.
I think it's obscene. It's absolutely obscene. Why? They were defending the indefensible, and they've done extremely well out of it. And I'm pretty sure, as in Lee's case, they knew exactly what they were doing was wrong, but they still carried on doing it and bankrupted him and his family along the way. And it's indefensible.
And also, Wendy,
they saw an awful lot of money of the public purse going to one company.
But they saw, absolutely, but they saw Lee Castleton as a test case. Had he have won his compensation, they feared their entire position might fold and disintegrate. So Mr. Dilley said the Post Office were aware the risk they would not be able to enforce their judgment. So that's what we're talking about. You know,
they destroyed Lee on purpose to stop all of us going back against them. They were holding him up as an example to us to say, leave it out and stop trying to get your names cleared, etc. They used him as a whipping boy.
Lee was on breakfast this morning on Talk Today here on TalkTV. Stay where you are, Wendy, and let's have a listen to Lee this morning.
What are you doing wrong, so badly wrong, in a retail business that you have to dig into your profit, whatever, for £37.5 million to defend those things? I mean, it's just mind-bending. It's absolutely horrendous. And to be fair, if it was a commercial company and not backed by the one shareholder being the government, it probably wouldn't have done what it did. And that in itself is a travesty, because that is ongoing.
I mean, Wendy, what all lawyers would say is they just have a job to do. They're paid, yeah, albeit handsomely for that job, but it's a professional enterprise that they undertake. But it turns out that lawyers used by the Post Office are under scrutiny, as the Solicitors Regulation Authority is investigating the conduct of law firms connected to the Horizon scandal. But any action against them is going to have to wait until after the public inquiry. I mean, that seems a bit soft on them, doesn't it? That you guys have waited years and years and years for compensation, having harrowing experiences in the interim, and yet these firms sort of sit there on the golden thrones and the ivory towers and can wait years until they're held accountable.
Yeah, and I think they will be held accountable because what they've done is immoral, if nothing else. And the way they dealt with us wasn't exactly fair and probably against the Law Society's rules and regulations, but that will all be brought out in the inquiry, and then it will be recommended by the inquiry as to who they look at, and we've got to abide with the inquiry and hopefully get us to the place that we need to be to make sure all of those that have worked against justice in our cases to have proper justice against themselves.
The aforementioned Mr. Dilly from this highly well-paid law firm, he said in conclusion, I am satisfied that I acted and my firm acted professionally, politely and appropriately at all times. Now, we've heard a lot of your fellow sub-postmasters and sub-postmistresses say that in terms of the investigators, the Post Office staff investigators, they did not treat you politely, they treated you terribly. Did you find that the lawyers that dealt with you treated you politely and appropriately at all times?
I didn't have that much to do with the Post Office lawyers because I pleaded guilty before I got to court. But I think my father had a few words to say to them at the court because they thought I hadn't turned up and they were being very, they weren't saying very nice things about me. So my father did have a go at them.
So it's arguable they weren't that polite. Just to explain, Wendy, of course we sympathise, we know why you did this, but just explain why you pleaded guilty.
Because my barrister told me that I would go to jail for 3 to 5 years if I pled not guilty, and there was no way I could win against the Post Office. So I pleaded guilty because I didn't want to go to jail because I knew if I went in, I wouldn't come out.
This was a bullying operation, wasn't it, by the Post Office and all that represented it?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, all of us that were sub-postmasters, we'd had nothing to do with the law. We'd had nothing to do with court cases and things like that, and we were terrified. Yeah. We were frightened, you know. It was a terrifying time.
Tell you what, every time I hear this story, you know, we all know what the story is, but every time I hear it from people like you, it makes me more furious.
It's terrifying, isn't it, that you think that this can happen to anybody, frankly.
What they did to your lives.
Establishment, lawyers, yeah, it's just
what they did to your lives.
Unforgivable.
It's a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. Thank you so much, Wendy.
Yeah, thank you. You're from up the road from me, Wendy. I'm from Gloucester, so hello to a fellow woman from Gloucestershire.
Thanks for joining us.